Okay, this is my review of the Kershaw RAM. Decided to do something a little different since it's so nice out today. We're going to do this outside. A little change of scenery from the usual desktop reviews. Anyhow, the RAM has just over a 3-inch blade. If I remember correctly, it's 3 1/8 inch. It's made of 13C26, which is Kershaw's Sandvik steel that they use on a regular basis. I have not been the biggest fan of this steel since it was introduced, having tested it on a few knives. Over time, though, I've come to the realization that as long as you keep using it within its limitations, you're fine. As an example, this knife is really good at push cutting, but if you were to do a slicing type motion, you wear down the steel rather quickly compared to some other ones. And as a result of that, like I said, I was not a really big fan of the steel. That said, I just got done slicing up a bunch of cardboard today, and this thing will still cut rather nicely. The one thing I can say is the strop is definitely your friend with this knife, because just going over it with a stone, you're going to leave a nice burr there, which means it's not going to cut as nicely. Oops, see? There we go. Not quite as clean as it was before, but it will still slice and push cut rather nicely. Now, a few of the things that I do like about this knife. The lock is very nice on this knife. One of the best things about it is the fact that it really doesn't cause any sort of resistance on this blade when you flick it out. So it flicks very smoothly. I mean, you can see, you can just move it back and forth like that. There is no resistance on it, unlike several of the other designs out there. The G10 on it is very nice as well. Not quite as grippy as some of the others that I've dealt with, but not bad at all. It keeps it from slipping around in your hands. Now, normally, I don't like knives that are made out of aluminum like this one is, but because I put the G10 on here, it does take care of that. And as you can see, the finish on the aluminum's held up rather well. Now, a few things I did modify on this knife to make it work a little better for me is, number one, I drilled out the lanyard hole. The lanyard hole, as it comes from Kershaw, is way too small to be useful. So I went ahead and punched that out, hence I now have a lanyard on it. The other thing I did is, you may be able to tell there's a defining line here. I went and smoothed the G10 underneath the pocket clip. Reason being is whenever you go to pull it out of the knife, pull the knife out of your pocket, the G10 would grab on the pocket and make it difficult to do. So by smoothing this, it makes it much easier to remove from the pocket. Now the good news is this clip's mounted up high enough to where you don't have to worry about the knife falling out of the pocket, so that's not really a concern in this case. Moving over to the other side, one of the issues I had with the hawk lock, they call this, is that, number one, this button didn't have a ramp on it. It had a pretty good texture to it, but it was difficult to manipulate. The spring tension on it was rather strong, and you just couldn't get a grip on it. So I did two things. Number one, I removed one of the springs. There's two of them in there in a piston type configuration. In doing that, I still have good lockup, but it's much easier to manipulate that lock. Additionally, by putting a ramp on it, it's a lot more comfortable on my thumb than it was otherwise. I would say, if you're looking for a decent hard work knife, this would be a good one. The steel isn't exactly perfect, but it is very good at push cutting. And let's face facts, typically that's what you're going to be using it for. One other modification before I leave you. You'll notice there are no thumb studs on this. That's one thing I think Kershaw screwed up on, to be honest with you, and that is they didn't give us a useful thumb stud. They gave us 3 miniature ones, and I'll be honest with you, I hated them. Hence, they're no longer there. Now, I've found that I can use my thumb and still grab it and rotate it out, but by and large, I use it flipper only. So anyhow, that's been my review of the Kershaw RAM. Hope you've enjoyed it. Bye.